Hello everybody, it's Non-Scene News here, and today we've got a lot of breaking updates today. So the first news is coming from Israel, where we've got news of more strikes in Tel Aviv. So if you didn't watch yesterday, Iran conducted the biggest missile strike ever on the territory of Israel. So first, if you want to catch up on all the news, just watch my yesterday's video. I'll link it here in the top right corner here. So just give it a watch if you want to get updated really quickly. So we got news that 6 Houthi drones were launched, according to the Israeli authorities, to the central Israeli city of Tel Aviv. So we can see and hear in your bottom left corner, we can see the Houthi drones make its way to its potential targets. So it seems that most of these, or all of these Houthi drones, were actually intercepted in the end, but very interesting news. We've also got news of the results of the Iranian missile strike on this airfield. So we talked about yesterday how the Iranian forces and the Iranian Missile Command targeted this exact Israeli airfield, and we talked about how the Iranian forces claimed that it had destroyed a significant number of F-35 jets. So we've gotten some news regarding the AP News Agency. So the AP News Agency published satellite imagery of the aftermath of the Iranian attack on this airfield. So according to this Iranian imagery, it seems that the Iranian missile hit the third hangar. So who knows? The Israeli forces might have been holding F-35 jets in this. So very interesting news. So it seems that Iran has at least hit probably one F-35 jet at least. So very interesting news. We've got more and more news of Israeli military deployment on the border of Lebanon and Israel. So we can see here in bottom left corner, we can see an Israeli tanks. So about 5 or 6 of these Israeli tanks on the border of Lebanon. But a lot of these tanks have been getting some criticism online, because a lot of military experts are stating that none of these tanks are ready for modern warfare. So they've got no dynamic protection blocks, no FPV drone cages. So very interesting news. And we've also gotten some news released by some soldiers of Israeli soldiers praying before their incursion to southern Lebanon. And we've also got news that the Israeli Defense Forces have confirmed its first military casualty during its ground operation in southern Lebanon. So if you can see here in the bottom left corner, this is the man. So this is the first Israeli casualty regarding to the ground operation in Lebanon. So he is Captain Elliot. He is 22 years old. He is the commander in the Exos Command Unit, as known as the Unit 621. He died during clashes with the Hezbollah militia in southern Lebanon. We've also got news that Hezbollah also claims to have ambushed a large Israeli unit in this village here of Yaran. I think that's how you pronounce it. But the Hezbollah officials claim that it has killed about 10 Israeli soldiers in this ambush here. So very interesting news. And now let's go into Damascus, where we've got news that at least 6 people were killed in an Israeli strike. So if you can see here in the bottom left corner, Israel struck central Beirut, so the capital of Lebanon. So the Lebanese health ministry has reported that at least 6 people have been killed in this Israeli strike in central Beirut, the capital of Lebanon. So Israel has struck the capital city of Beirut, the capital city of Lebanon. We've also got news that the Israeli forces also targeted Damascus, so the capital city of Syria. So if you can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see one of the results of the Israeli strikes onto Damascus. So the Syrian authorities are stating that at least 2 people were killed. So regarding these 2 attacks, we don't know what the Israeli Defense Forces were targeting, but very interesting news nonetheless. We've also got news coming from the Lebanese Foreign Minister, so Abdallah. So he stated that Nasrallah, so the ex-head of Hezbollah, who was assassinated and killed during an Israeli strike, actually agreed to a ceasefire with Israel just hours before his assassination. So the ex-Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah agreed to a ceasefire with Israel just hours before his assassination, the Lebanese foreign minister reported. We've also got news that Russia's emergency ministry delivers 33 tons of humanitarian aid to Lebanon. So we can see here in your bottom left corner, we can see that Russia is stocking this cargo plane with about 33 tons of humanitarian aid to be delivered to the people of Lebanon, and it's probably already arrived at this time of recording. We've also got news that the foreign minister of Serbia condemns the Iranian missile strike on Israel, including the UK and other nations. Israel stated that it might actually strike nuclear sites in Iran, but the president of the United States stated that he does not support potential Israeli strikes on Iranian nuclear sites. So that was stated by Joe Biden. We've also got news coming from the cabinet of Israel. So the cabinet of Israel decided that there will be a harsh response to the Iranian attack that hit Israel yesterday, but the Israeli officials state that it will not lead to a regional war. We've also got news that oil prices seems to have spiked following the Iran's launch of approximately 200 ballistic missiles at Israel on Tuesday, escalating tensions in the Middle East. So we can see here in your bottom left corner, we can see Brent last day financial. So it seems that oil prices after this Iranian attack on Israel seem to have spiked a little bit. So very interesting news. We've also got news that the USS Harrier S. Truman aircraft carrier of the United States is heading back to the Mediterranean Sea with the Carrier Strike Group 8. So very interesting news. We've also got news that Erdogan, the president of Turkey, stated that Turkey would be Israel's next target. The Turkish president declared that Israel's military operation in the Palestinian territories and Lebanon could soon extend to Turkey. We've also got news that the Iranian president is has now landed in Qatar. So we can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see the Iranian government plane carrying the Iranian president today was escorted by at least 3 Iranian fighter jets. So it's actually hard to distinguish the type of fighter jet that it's escorting the Iranian president. So it's likely either an F-14A or a MiG-29A. So we can see here in the bottom left corner the Iranian president being escorted by 3 Iranian fighters. So the Iranian president arrived in the capital city of Qatar. The two leaders are set to discuss relations between the two countries and prospects of strengthening and developing them. In addition, the Iranian president will also be discussing regional issues of common interests. So we can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see the Iranian president actually land in the airport of Qatar. So very interesting news, and I'll keep you updated on that. We've also got news coming from the Red Sea that a Houthi unmanned kamikaze boat actually attacked a British oil tanker. So if we can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see the people trying to shoot the boat to try and make it explode, but it seems that it actually did hit the oil tanker in the end. So I'm not actually sure what's happening right now when talking about the oil tanker, if it's sunk or not, but I'll keep you updated if any news arise resulting on the attack. So now let's head to Georgia, where we've got news that the president of Georgia refused to sign the law banning LGBT propaganda adopted previously by the Georgian parliament. So the Georgian president refused to sign the law banning LGBT propaganda. We've also got news that the Russians are building up defensive structures around the Crimean bridge, satellite reports are stating. So we can see here in the bottom left corner, it seems that the Russians are building, it seems to be defense structures around the Crimean bridge. So I'll keep you updated if anything else happens when talking about that. We've also got news coming from Moscow that the Russian President Vladimir Putin and the Moscow mayor Sergei attended the opening of an initiative college for drone operators. So if you can see here in the bottom left corner, Putin and the mayor of Moscow actually attending this opening of this college for operators, for drone operators. It seems that Putin did also test out the cafeteria, so the canteen. So if we can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see Putin and the mayor of Moscow actually ordering coffee. And the big news come today is that they didn't pay for their coffee. So Putin didn't pay for his coffee. If you can see here in the bottom left corner. So very interesting news. So he's now a criminal. We've got some more news coming from Putin, that Putin signs a law on exemption from criminal liability of defendants serving in the military operation in Ukraine. So, very interesting news. And the last news coming from Putin is that Putin congratulated Russian Jews on the Rosh Hashanah, the New Year according to the Jewish tradition. We've also got news coming from the Russian Foreign Ministry, so Sergei Lavrov. He stated that a conversation with the United States on strategic issues, including nuclear arms control, is now meaningless and counterproductive, according to the Russian Foreign Ministry. We've also got news coming from Ukraine that Ukraine plans to increase production of drone and long-range weapons and ballistic missiles in 2025, according to the Defense Minister Rustem Umerov. He stated that $4 billion have already been invested in the Ukrainian industry, with plans to boost funding next year, prioritizing the development of domestic drones and long-range weaponry. We've also got news that the US aid, so the US government allocates about $825 million to support Ukraine's energy system this winter. So the US aid has pledged $825 million to help Ukraine's energy system withstand the upcoming winter. So very interesting news. We've also gotten some news coming from Poland that the Polish defense minister accuses Ukraine to be ungrateful. So the Polish Minister of Defense has described Ukraine as an ungrateful recipient of aid, stating that there is no memory of this assistance from the Ukrainian side. According to the President of Poland, the total aid to Ukraine since the beginning of the conflict has amounted to 3.3% of Poland's GDP, or approximately $26 billion. We've also got news that Hungary blocks the EU plan to send instructors and advisors to Ukraine to train Ukrainian troops there, and demands that it be revised, the Hungarian foreign minister stated. So according to the Hungarian foreign minister, the EU training mission on the territory of the community countries, which began in November 2022, is expiring soon. He added that the EU is currently discussing a proposal not only to extend it for 2 years, but also to send instructors and military advisors to Ukraine, so that they can take part in coordinating and preparing missions. We've also got news that the Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban vows to continue shipping migrants from the border to Brussels. So Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary, stated that if Brussels continues to insist on its decision to punish us for defending the borders of the EU, they can get what they want, he said on X. Now let's head to Croatia, that the Croatian army will not participate in NATO activities related to security and training for Ukraine. This decision was made by the head of the state of Croatia, according to the office of the President of Croatia. So the Croatian army will not participate in NATO activities related to security and training for Ukraine. We've got news come from the German Chancellor Scholz. He has confirmed his intention to run for Prime Minister from the Social Democratic Party SPD in the 2025 federal elections in Germany. We've also got news in Italy. A van from the Czech Republic was detained, in which the police discovered 130 kilograms of marijuana. So on the black market, the value of the shipment could have been around 1.5 million euros. So if we can see here in the bottom left corner, this is the 130 kilograms of marijuana that was seized by the Italian government. We've also got news coming from Denmark that Denmark is named the most affordable country in Europe to buy a home. So a recent study by Best Brokers has identified Denmark as the most affordable country in Europe to purchase a home relative to average local wages. We've got news coming from a factory coming from the United Kingdom that produces parts for Israeli F-35 fighter jets. So the British citizens, it seems British activists have broken into this F-35 jets factory, well, at the top of it, and sprayed red paint all over the workstations. So if you can see here in your bottom left corner, we can see this girl spray all this red paint into this Israeli F-35 factory that apparently produces parts for F-35s for Israel. So very interesting news. We've also got news coming from the Wagner forces in Mali. So we talked about yesterday how a huge Russian and Mali convoy is heading its way to the Algerian border. So now we've got news that Algeria has begun building some sort of defense barriers along the border with Mali. This comes as the Wagner and the Malian forces approach the Algerian border. So we talked about this yesterday, how the Russian Wagner group, along with the Malian armed forces, are conducting anti-terrorist operations in northern Mali. So it seems that Algeria has begun building defensive barriers along the border with Mali. So this comes as the Wagner forces are getting closer to the Algerian border. We've also got news coming from Uganda that Uganda is set to increase foreign exchange earnings with new exports to China. This comes following the signing of the two protocols that open up new export opportunities to China during the Forum on China and Africa Cooperation in Beijing last month. The agreement will allow Uganda to export dried chilies and other trade necessities and other products to China. So very interesting news. So Uganda and Chinese trade increases. We've also got news coming from India that an Indian Air Force helicopter makes an emergency landing somewhere in India. So I'm pretty sure it's near New Delhi. So you can see here in the bottom left corner, the engine failed on this helicopter, and the helicopter pilot had to do an emergency landing. So it actually turns out all of the crew in the helicopter was rescued, so there was no casualties at all. But as a result of this crash, the Indian Air Force has lost a helicopter of the military. And the last news coming from India today is coming from this image here in your bottom left corner. So this image here in your bottom left corner shows India's population compared to other countries. So some parts of India compared to the whole country, the whole other country's population. So this area here in northern India, this part of India has a population of all of the United States. This part of Spain, so I just thought to add this really quickly. The next news is coming from China. That's China has modernized the Type 99 main battle tank, ZTZ-99. The tank is equipped with the new GL6 active protection system against anti-tank missiles and high explosive fragmentation shells. The GL6 also includes 2 launchers and 4 threat detection radars, the Chinese army reports. So the Chinese army is modernizing the Type 99 main battle tank, ZTZ-99. We've also gotten some news coming from Japan coming from Japan's new foreign minister. So the Japanese government is committed to maintaining its course of imposing sanctions on Russia and conducting support for Ukraine, stated the new foreign minister of Japan. We've also got news coming from this airfield in Japan here. So according to news, an unexploded World War II shell caused an explosion on this airfield here. So you can see here in your bottom left corner, we can see an unexploded World War II shell explode randomly. So very interesting news. And the last news coming today is coming from the debate in America. So the debate of vice presidential candidates of J.D. Vance and Tim Walz. So J.D. Vance, the Republican vice president candidate, focused more on the economy and migration, and criticizing Kamala Harris for her inaction, while Tim Walz, more focused on empathized defending democracy and women's rights. So very interesting news. So I don't think there's a clear winner here, but very interesting news. We've also got news that the former US President Jimmy Carter celebrates his 100th birthday today, becoming the first president in history to reach the milestone. So Carter, the former US president, held office from 1977 to 1981. So he has now reached 100 years old, and he's the first president to do so. Now we've got some news coming from the Hurricane Helene. So the Vice President Kamala Harris has announced $250 in immediate relief for those who truly need it after the Hurricane Helene. So all victims of the Hurricane Helene will be receiving $250 in immediate relief for those who truly need it. So that was stated by Vice President Kamala Harris. We got some news coming from former President Donald Trump that he stated that we are close to a global catastrophe. Trump is warning of World War III and slams non-existent Biden and Harris leadership. And that's all the news I actually have for you today. I am Non-Seen News. I'll try and provide you news that medias around the world do not show you. I do these videos hopefully daily, so consider subscribing and liking. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye.